Welcome, Module 2, Strategic Human Resource Planning. So I'll be now taking you through this particular module where we are going to discuss about importance of human resource planning and all the intricacies involved in that. So be attentive, my friends. To begin with, that is strategic human resource planning is a crucial ingredient of strategic human resource management that creates a direct linkage between human resource management and the strategic plan of the organization. So here, the word that actually is very important here is direct linkage uh, between human HRM and strategic plan of the organization. What is required is what the human resource managers do is not only an entity that lies there, but something more than that, which actually talks about organizational functions, which are much more strategic. So whatever the human resource managers are doing has a bearing on the organization in terms of business, and once that is kept in mind, then it is strategic human resource planning, not just human resource planning. So word strategy implies more to do with uh, productivity in terms of business. So whatever human resource managers can do to enhance that will actually imply the strategic perspective. It's not just the mundane perspective. So more than the operational level, the doings, one is getting into the result-oriented doings, which actually take care of the business. Next, strategic human resource planning also plays a critical budgetary role such that the organization can consider cost related to employee recruitment, selection, training, and the like into its operating budget. So here the aspects are to do in more in terms of budget and various allied activities like recruitment, selection, and training, which has to be taken into consideration and the cost involved. So once these are taken into account and the cost involved in that and the effectiveness involved in that in terms of action, then one is strategy. That means one has to do a certain element of thinking that whatever I am doing in my department related to human resource, how are that actually giving results which enhances my company's business, or am I just going through the motion what I have to do in the name of recruitment, selection, and training. So all this element of HR has a cost, and when there's an element of cost, this has to get culminated into certain kind of business benefits. So as an HR manager, this has to be kept in mind. My level of effectiveness and its business implication. So a human resource strategy should be planned such that it is able to catch hold of the human element that the organization is aiming to achieve in the medium to long term to ascertain the following. So the human element here will be talking about 4 points. The first one is right people at right place. That is getting the right people. Here talks about talented individual with the right skill set, knowledge, and attitude, which is also called as a competency. And in right place talks about the right kind of a business environment, the right kind of a job that a particular person can implement and do so as to make the job enriched. So it's always a lookout. Second is the right combination of knowledge and skill. Uh, that is quite a uh, prerequisite of any candidate to perform well. Mix of right knowledge and skill. Knowledge is abstract and very difficult to define. And from Plato's time, it is a debate that what is knowledge. Maybe at an organizational level, uh, what is knowledge? uh, may have certain implication, but in many cases it is being seen that just because one has knowledge doesn't mean one will be skillful. So what is required is to what extent the knowledge can be translated into skill and then into actual results of the organization. Definitely, knowledge is required, which is uh, which gives an awareness level what to do and what not to do, and skills are more of knowledge on hands, I mean, through which one can actually deliver. So, in a proper perspective, both are required. Skills has more weightage. Right attitude towards work objective. Attitude, of course, governs our behavior. Our behavior are driven by the kind of attitude we carry, and it is being said that with the right attitude, one can any or reach any kind of an altitude. So it is attitude that determines a level of work ethic. So what is required is when you say right attitude, it actually means uh, a level of open-mindedness, level-headedness, and to an extent that one can, how much one can stretch beyond and get into the work for its establishment, mm, which is again a prerequisite. Training can actually make a lot of difference. That is called attitude training. Right development of each employee. Right development. Development is again a big word. When I say HRD, it is human resource development. Here, development actually talks about uh, the employee's development, where an employee is able to give the maximum uh, through his application of skill, and how that skill actually translates into business results. Next is purpose of strategic human resource planning. Few points here. Make sure that human resources are adequate to achieve the strategic objectives and operational plans of the organization. Uh, Second is the right manpower with the right skill set should be available at the right time. So here, strategic objectives and an operational plan of the organization. So say two important things here. So strategic objectives can be like improving the skill set, or it can be increasing the territory, or adding certain product portfolio, or it can be adding a new machinery line, or coming up with two or three operating units. Now these are all strategic objectives. Now all the strategic objectives, if these things are not having a real plan for operations, then they're just mere objectives. They don't have any kind of value. They are all in the air. So to make things really workable and viable, what is required is an operational plan. That means how. So when the hows are put, then things are filled. And when things are filled, people don't have any assumptions. And based on that, the things really uh, can come up and actually happens. So for that, what is required is the right manpower, the right skill set, and the right attitude, as we have seen in the previous slide also. Next, we talk the next point, that is stay intact with the social, legal, economic, and technological trends affecting the human resources in the organization. When you talk about these dimensions like social, legal, economic, and technological, all these parameters affects the human resource. Social, of course, man doesn't stay alone. He's a social being, and being a part of society, networking and a social integration is required. So human resource team has to see that to what element of the social aspects are there in the organization, which makes a person to be happy also. Legal, anything to do with organization where an element of legal or any statutory norm has to be followed, has to be kept in mind. What has to be followed has to be followed. Economic and technological, economic, of course, everything boils down to profitability. Uh, so that has to be kept in mind, that my cost and my price are properly budgeted, allocated, and we are not going beyond your means. Of course, technological trends talks about what are the various factors affecting the industry and how are they logically affecting the human resource planning also. So, as an HRM, as an HR person, what are the various technology are there which can be integrated in planning, which can actually effectively increase the efficiency of the HR department. Next is allow for flexibility and or adaptability in the organization to manage any organization change if required in the future. So we all know that flexibility and adaptability is a new mantra, and it goes a long way to keep yourself agile and productive. Uh, Anything is rigid can bend. If anything is flexible and adaptable can learn. So today, what we talk about, even Peter Senge talks about something called uh, learning organization. So anything which is flexible and adaptable can mold itself and become part of the system where it becomes easy to learn, and anything that learns grows. So an element of flexibility and adaptability will be going a long way to keep the organization agile. Next, we go to the slide which actually talks about methods used for human resource planning. So, as a human resource manager, one should know what are the various tools used for the planning. So, few of them are workforce analysis. Second is seminars and job exhibitions, training programs, retention programs. I mean, of course, this is just a few of them. One can browse through and go through some of the leading books where a lot of tools are being given, like HR scorecard is one of them, which is wonderful, which actually gives you a kind of a scorecard in terms of how you plan. Here, what you're talking is very simplistic, just to give you a kind of an idea, which will trigger you to learn more. So when you see talk about workforce analysis, is actually uh, taking into consideration the total workforce vis-a-vis their productivity, vis-a-vis the kind of job that they're doing. And once we do that, we exactly understand that yes, we don't require so much, or we require so much. So a calculation, our numerical data gives us some kind of a background to understand where we stand and where is the gap and where we need to go. Second point actually draws from something that no HR person is somebody who knows something on itself. So we all depend upon something, and that something is uh, environment which is larger than us. So it can be a job exhibition where more people come and we tend to network and learn. And secondly, seminars where again experts comes and we can learn from the experts. Uh, Attending seminars gives us a huge benefit because their experts are actually sharing their tools and also their uh, mantras and also their executions, that what they have done successfully. By listening to those elements, one will be getting certain new inputs, new information, which when they come back to the organization can implement. So keeping the sensory apparatus open gives us a huge uh, window to learn and implement. Training programs, of course, are very specific and competency based. So in those training program, we learn a lot from the trainers, and also we get a lot of tools to come to the organization and implement those tools. Retention program itself is a kind of a strategy where one thinks what can be done should be done to retain the quality and the talented people in the organization. So if you see this four, that is workforce analysis, seminars, training programs, and retention program, all gives a kind of a tool which can be implemented and improved over a period of time for human resource planning. So be it recruitment, be it retention, be it maintenance, be it development, be it nurturance. So all this words actually talks about only one thing, and that is human resource planning. So no human resource planning, no productivity. So productivity cannot just follow just like that. It has to follow somebody, and that following somebody is the planning. Next is strategic human resource planning process. What is the planning process? Analyzing existing human resource capability. Second is estimating human resource requirement. Let us understand this two domain, and then of course there's a third domain that is called assessing gaps. Okay, analyzing existing human resource capability. Of course, this happens through observation. It happens through monitoring. It happens through immediate feedback from their bosses, and it also happens through from the vendors and the suppliers, where people are in touch, and it can also happen through direct observations or maybe performance appraisal system. So, and also it can be understood from one of the parameters which is already included in performance appraisal, and that is uh, achievement of their targets vis-a-vis their actuals, and how much is committed, how much is being done. So pulling this observation gives a fairly a good picture where human resource stands in terms of capability. So capability is basically defined as a person whom certain thing can be entrusted upon, and who can, without minimum supervision, can do a job effectively. That is the capability. Next is estimating human resource requirement. It all depends upon the situation and the context. That means how much of job do I have, and vis-a-vis of the job that I have, how much people I require to complete that. So it requires a kind of a rough estimation and again an intuition. And this estimation and intuition has to get converted into a kind of a very intelligent guessing. And once this guessing is there, human resource managers do a very effective job and intelligent guessing. So it is also kind of a judgment that what is required from my organization to optimally perform, which I can extract from my available or maybe my recruiting to more inductees. So it requires a balanced combination of intuition and a very rational way of thinking, which we call as a judgment. And then next, that is the last one, is understanding and assessing gaps. Of course, people do have gaps in terms of performance, but what is required is to pinpoint and be specific about those gaps, so that those gaps can be fulfilled. Number one, those gaps can be addressed through various measures like like coaching or maybe hand holding, or by training programs, or by shadowing, or by sponsoring the candidate for some specific niche programs. So if these things are done, then to a large extent human resource planning process is in line. Next, we talk about strategic human resource planning process. So everything has a process, so we are going to really understand the process. And this slide is quite important, because once you know the process and you really stick to the process, you find that yes, you know something. So this slide will be giving you a kind of an information, but more than information, if you can really implement, you'll find your life is much more easier. Gap assessment broadly answers to the questions like what kind of new jobs are required. Okay, so when you talk about planning process, it is based on something, and that something is gap assessment. So what kind of new jobs are required? So every organization, because of the liberalization and globalization, things are changing. When things are changing, jobs are new. So one has to really gauge that what kind of new jobs are required to my organization. Next is what skill set are required to fulfill the new jobs. So the skill set that was there yesterday may not be sufficient to fulfill today. So what I require is searching for a new skill set, which is a mandatory and often a required thing for actually getting the job done. For example, if a person has known some specific skill, say 3 years back, and that specific skill no more suffices, he has to know the third or fourth skill. The question is, has he upgraded himself or herself with that particular skill? Next is, do the existing employee have the required skill set? So if I'm having almost say 25 employee on bench, and if the job requires something, I need to be very rational. Do my people have that particular skill set or not? And if they don't have, what can I do? So that's a kind of a decision somebody has to take. And what is the requirement for managers and supervisors? So one is what is required, and what is also required from the supervisors and managers at the personal level. And that can come out from performance appraisal, or it can even come out theoretically what exactly they are looking for. And lastly, how good are the existing human resource management practices? So one can be contemplative and ask this question to the organization that I'm having certain HR practices, but are they are they updated? Are they effective? Are they best practices? Are they matching up with the best practices in the industry? So if these questions are asked and then it is seen, you will find that that can be gaps, because everyday industries are actually progressing and then they are evolving. So if I stay wherever I am without much of upgradation, so I am obsolete. So this question, how good are the existing human resource management practices, can be scary, but at the same time, it gives us a lot of light what to do for my employment security. The career is for those people who always take self-initiative to learn. Next, we talk about prerequisite for successful human resource planning. So what are the things that is required before planning? That is called the prerequisites. The human resource planning should be regarded as an essential component of corporate planning, and the HR planner should acknowledge himself or herself of the corporate goals. So it is regarded as an essential component. So first of all, that being an HR individual, one should know that the importance of what I should do today so as to become effective tomorrow. So an importance has to be given today in terms of what is happening now and updation. Similarly, the top management support is equally important for such planning, is to make certain thing happen. One has to have a lot of selling skill. Now, selling to whom? You're selling to your own seniors, selling to your own top people, so that you get the budgetary allocation in case if you have to get certain new machinery or new tool or new software, or go yourself for a training program. So this requires certain element of convincing and negotiation skill on the part of HR manager. Now, third is the responsibility of human resource planning should be integrated for the proper consultation among varied management levels. Now, when the planning is done, it is not only for a particular function or a particular job design or a particular job description. It is for the organization. So, HR manager actually plays the job of an integrated learner. So he has to look into everything. So he's a parent of the organization, and the parent is very, very integrated in seeing all his child are actually proper and getting the right kind of resources. So here, human resource managers has to have that integrated eye for details for top level, middle level, and the supervisory level. That is at various management levels where things are coordinated and will in harmony to make progress for the organization. And lastly, but not the least, that is the HR record should be up to date and easily accessible. Again, it has been seen that many of the data are obsolete and we don't update them is because of our lack of concern or laziness. I think one has to really come out of this two important dimension that hinders human performance. That is one. To what extent am I updated? And secondly, to what extent my updation is accessible. So it may happen that you're updated, but things are not accessible when it is required. So accessibility actually talks about how organized you are when I have to retrieve a data, and if I have to be able to retrieve the data within a few seconds, that shows that how am I organized. Because things matters when there's an emergency. An emergency doesn't come with any kind of warning or any kind of a signal. So records and accessibility are important aspect of human resource planning. We continue the same topic on prerequisites. The time horizon of the planning should be long enough to accommodate remedial measures. So when you talk about planning, there's an element of timing, and in the given time, one has to take into consideration how or what much a person can do, so that certain effective measures can be taken into account. Second is the planning technique should be best suited to the available data and the extent of accuracy needed. So that means there's an element of work to be done in terms of whatever I have today, in terms of data that I have gathered, which is very, very relevant. Secondly, uh, accuracy. Uh, that is, the data that I have today is not something which is hypothetical, but based on certain current market data, I do something. So planning is based on recent trends or recent data. Next, plan should be prepared by skill level instead of aggregates. That is, sometimes we just don't integrate because for the heck of it, but it is skilled because that actually matters, because a skillful person or a skillful level actually is able to uh, make able to articulate what is exactly required. So with years of experience, the collection of data, its analysis technique, and the planning itself should be continually updated and enhanced. This is a continual process. We'll go to the next slide now. That is integrating human resource planning into strategic planning. So basically, strategic planning is an answer to the nature of business the organization holds. On the other hand, human resource planning is an answer to the skills required to achieve success in the business. Human resource planning and strategic planning can be effective only when there is a mutual and interdependent association between them, whereby the top management team acknowledges that decisions related to strategic planning effects and are affected by HR activities. So here we talk about a mutuality between the top management and the team, because certain thing cannot be imposed, and team has to have the ownership. There has to be a buy-in, and once the team acknowledges and if there's a harmony between the two, that is the top management and the team, decisions become much more easier and things become easily implementable. Thank you. So we complete here. In case if you have any query, any specific question to be asked, you can always write to us, or we can directly communicate to us. We'll be more than happy to answer your queries. Thank you.